Well, hello, this is Scott over at ReadySquirrel.com. You can read this article, Food Grade Plastic, What Is It? If you go over to ReadySquirrel.com, and if you're watching this video, you're on YouTube. It's Friday, and this is a short article, so let's get right down to it. I didn't think much about food grade plastics until researching this article. There's a lot to know. Let's start by defining what food grade means. Food grade plastics are certified by the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, as safe for direct contact with food and beverage. FDA testing ensures that containers don't migrate chemicals to food and can withstand the intended purposes like high or low temperatures and non-reactivity. And as we know, some of this stuff is a little bit controversial. A lot of the BPA used to be an issue. Now most of the bottles that we see are BPA free. Some are not, but you do the best you can with what you have. You know, if something's made from plastic or chemicals, in certain environments, you're going to have some leaching. So one of the things to keep in mind when we look down below is that certain plastics can only be used in certain environments. Let's put it that way. So there's certain stuff that you can use that's safe for food, but once you put it in the microwave, all bets are off. Not good for you. So 6 things to consider when choosing a food container. Food grade containers also store toxic chemicals. So if you're reusing containers, make sure you know what was in them. Some plastics are not manufactured in a food safe environment. I can tell you, I think I've had stuff manufactured in China and I've had stuff manufactured in India, and they weren't food related items, but they were items that when you open the box, they shouldn't have smelled like what they smelled like. I don't know if that makes sense, but just keep in mind that if you're using containers that aren't marked as food grade, it's just not a good idea, because you don't know what else is being used in that factory, and you don't want some certain chemicals. You don't want that anywhere near your food or water. So a food safe plastic like Hdpe number 2 is not an indication that the container is food safe. The orange Homer buckets from Home Depot are not safe for food or beverage because of the chemicals used to manufacture. Home Depot does offer white food grade buckets though. Only use plastics for food and water sold as food safe. So these are the food grade plastic resins. There's 7 resin identification codes in the United States, and you're normally going to see them on the bottom of the bottle, barrel, or whatever plastic container it is that you're using. The plastic resin numbers indicate the type of synthetic resin used to make each of the 7 plastics. You'll find the resin plastic symbol on the bottom of the container. If there's no symbol, don't use it for food or beverage storage. All 7 resins or plastic types are certified by the U.S. Food and Drug Department as safe if manufactured properly. So, they could be somewhat food safe, but because they're manufactured in a factory that's using seriously toxic chemicals, that makes them not food safe. I don't know if that... So it's not just the plastic, it's also the environment that they're manufactured in that can make something not food safe. So all 7 resins or plastic types are certified by the U.S. Food and Drug Department as food safe if manufactured properly for food storage, used for the intended purpose, and in an intended manner. For example, a plastic could or could not be microwave safe. So the first resin identification code, number 1, PET or peat, polyethylene terephthalate, used for bottled water, clear and tough but degrades quickly, retains the odor of strong food stored in them. This is a kind of a good argument against using milk jugs or pop bottles for certain, reusing them for certain things. But I know some people swear by them, but this is the reason why, because they retain the odors. It's hard to clean them, basically. It's hard to get everything out of it. Facts: considered food grade, PET plastic degrades quickly, and PET plastic, number 1, is accepted by most recycling programs. Number 2, Hdpe. This is your big polyethylene barrels. I think I've actually been saying polypropylene. which is not correct. So I apologize for that. In some of my other articles, I think I've been saying polypropylene. So number 2, Hdpe, high-density polyethylene, is used for milk bottles, 55-gallon blue-grade barrels, plastic buckets sold for long-term food storage. So if you're using those lidded buckets with Mylar bags, you're probably using number 2, high-density polyethylene buckets. The most commonly used food-grade plastic, and it's accepted by most recycling programs. Number 3, PVC, polyvinyl chloride. Typically used for pipes and flooring, used to package cooking oil, peanut butter, and to make the material in cling wrap. Used for food and non-food purposes. Recycled on a small scale. Number 4, Ldpe, low-density polyethylene. Used to store bread, frozen food, and for condiment squeeze bottles like mustard. It's considered safe for food storage, reusable, not accepted by most recycling programs. Number 5, Pp Polypropylene. Microwave plastics are often made of Pp. Pp food packaging includes containers for yogurt and ice cream. Considered safe for food storage, reusable, accepted by some recycling programs. Number 6, polystyrene, rigid and brittle, used for plastic plates, cups, egg cartons, and butter tubs. Considered safe for food contact, accepted by some recycling programs. Number 7, other. This is a tough plastic and kind of a catch-all. It can include a mixture of the 6 other resins or something completely different. Make sure that the container is marked as food safe. And it can be food safe and it cannot be food safe. Not accepted by most recycling programs. Number 4 or number 7, plastics made from biological materials like corn, wheat, or wood, commonly called cereal plastics. New products are being researched and tested as I speak. Food safe. They're not as stable as petroleum-based plastics. Bioplastics are more susceptible to the environment, so they're not as tough. Recyclable and more biodegradable than petroleum-based plastics, but programs for recycling are few and far between. Plasticsrecycling.org. Here's a link to a printable PDF. You can check that out on ReadyScroll.com. Resin identification codes also provide a system for recycling and sorting post-consumer plastics. Is number 7 plastic safe? That's this one right here. Plastics made from biological materials. Belay that. It's this one, the number 7. I think the Nalgene bottles are actually number 7, and I use those things religiously. That's pretty much all I use for my daily carry on water. Okay, is number 7 plastic safe? The number 7 code is the other or everything else section for plastic resins. You have to be aware of what you're buying, but don't count it out. Some of the best reusable sports bottles are made from this resin. Number 7 plastic is safe for food and drink. At one time, polycarbonate plastics contained BPA, bisphenol A, a nasty toxin you don't want in your drinking water. Purchase polycarbonate bottles that are marked BPA-free and food safe. Avoid old, unmarked bottles of clear, hard plastic. So that's the big thing, right? I mean, if you want to look for BPA-free and you want to look for food safe on the container. BPA-free and food safe. And then the other issue, I guess, would be the environment that you're using it in. Are you going to microwave it? Is there going to be any kind of reaction with the plastic they're using based on the kind of food you're going to store in it? 5 number 7 plastics for food and drink. When using number 7 plastics, be aware that there are quality products out there, but there are also some stinkers that will slide in BPAs or other questionable chemicals. So this is basically a list of the number 7 plastics. I got to be honest with you, when I was doing research on this, these 2 things here were a little bit confusing, 4 or 7. So there's a lot of information out there, and it's not very clear. A lot of this stuff was actually taken from like manufacturers' papers. doc types. This wasn't taken from articles. So bioplastics are made from renewable products like corn, wheat, wood, and even mushrooms. They are considered safe for food and drink if marked for the purpose. Polycarbonates are transparent, colored, or opaque, rigid plastic that is safe for food and drink as long as it's marked BPA free and food safe. Triton is a sturdy, clear plastic that doesn't contain BPAs, considered food safe if marked for the purpose. ABS, acrylic styrene, a sturdy, rigid plastic with suitable temperature and chemical resistance. ABS is food safe and drink safe if marked for the purpose. And TPE, thermoplastic elastomers, are usually a mixture of different types of plastics. Only use these containers if they're marked food safe and BPA free. My favorite water bottle, the wide mouth Nalgene, doesn't leave my side. I just turn it upside down and realize it's number 7 plastic. And thankfully it's BPA free. Wine glass and fork, international symbol for food grade plastic. If you see the wine glass and fork symbol on a container or packaging, it indicates that the plastic is safe for food contact. Safe for food contact doesn't mean safe under every circumstance. For instance, if the plastic isn't microwave safe and it's heated in a microwave, toxins may be released into your food. The glass and fork indicate that an otherwise questionable material is safe for food. You will see this symbol on materials other than plastic. If your plastic container doesn't have a food safe symbol, then the sales literature or packaging should state that it's food grade. If food grade, container may be marked USDA or FDA approved. The safest plastic for food. There are too many variables to say which plastic is safe for food because it depends on how you're using it. That said, some plastics are considered safer than others. According to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, all 7 plastic resin numbers are safe for food contact if they're correctly manufactured and used under the right conditions. Typically, food numbers 1, 2, 4, and 5 are considered to be the most food safe. So 1, 2, 4, and 5 are considered to be the most food safe. The most commonly used plastic for food, including long-term food storage, is high-density polyethylene Hdpe resin symbol number 2. And that's the symbol up here that we were using to the blue barrels and the food-grade plastic buckets. So number 2, Hdpe, high-density, and it says food safe. You're good to go. Okay, so food safety facts. The 7 food-grade plastics. 1, PET or peat, polyethylene terephthalate. Only use PET once. Keep away from heat. May release antimony into water. PET becomes porous as it ages, collecting germs and toxins that cannot be washed off. I think that's kind of interesting. You know, we talk about storing our food and water away from chemicals, and this PET becomes porous as it ages. So if you've got chemicals next to your water storage, you know, say you've got stacks of the store-bought water bottles and it's getting old, it could be leaching chemicals into your water. 2, Hdpe, high-density polyethylene, considered safe with a low risk for leaching chemicals. And that's why we put our water in it, and that's why we use it for food-grade buckets. Number 3, PVC, polyvinyl chloride, contains, I can't say that, it's PHTHALATE S or BPA. When manufactured, produces lead, dioxins, ethylene dichloride, vinyl chloride, and you want to keep it away from heat. So PVC is a nasty manufacturing process. I recognize, dioxins. I recognize that as one of the things that almost took out loons in northern Minnesota because it was making the eggshells thin. That also makes people sick. Lead, that makes people sick. So if you're manufacturing number 3 PVC, you are putting more than likely lead and dioxins and this other stuff into our groundwater. Number 4, Ldpe, low-density polyethylene, considered safe with low risk of leaching chemicals. Number 5, Pp Polypropylene, considered safe with a low risk of leaching chemicals. Microwave safe PP is controversial. Why is it controversial? Because I think it's hard to imagine anytime you have a serious amount of heat and then you have food to plastic contact, that there's not some kind of transfer of chemicals. And that goes for the water bottles in a hot car also. So you could have a food, a number one PET bottle, even if it's free BPA's. It's 110 degrees outside. It's 130, 140 in your car. It's hard to imagine that plastic isn't going to, some of the chemicals aren't going to shed into the drinking water or the food. Number 6, polystyrene contains styrene and benzene that may leach when heated. So number 6, not microwave safe. Number 7, other, made from any of the 6 plastics or other. Look for BPA-free, food-safe number 7 containers. So it's going to be kind of hard to talk about this because it could be a bioplastic made from wood chips or mushrooms, or it could be a mixture of 6 of these plastics, in which case there could be some PVC in there, and it would be, leaching lead and dioxins into the environment when it's manufactured. 5 tips for using food-grade plastic. There are steps you can take to minimize the possibility of toxic chemicals leaching from containers to food. Have you ever left a water bottle in a hot car and taken a big swig? That nasty taste is the bottle shedding chemicals into your water. I'm the worst when it comes to defrosting in a microwave. I really am. With a PV plastic wrap and polystyrene bottom still holding the meat. I do it all the time. Like if I go get Chinese food, put it in the fridge, or leftover Italian, it's in the fridge. I throw it in the microwave. I eat it right out of the dish, the plastic dish. Shouldn't do that. So 5 tips for using food-grade plastic. Don't use the microwave, even if it's microwave safe. Don't store plastic containers in or around the heat. Don't use harsh detergents to clean, as this may cause the plastic to release chemicals. Be on the safe side and only use plastic containers with number 2, number 4, and number 5 to store food. Number 1 is not reusable. I know we're reusing it, but they say it's not reusable. Number 7 is suitable for water bottles if BPA free. And don't use food-grade plastics that are manufactured for industrial use. Kind of goes without saying, I guess. Orange 5-gallon Home Depot buckets. Are they food grade? I love the Home Depot Homer buckets. I probably have, I don't know, I bet you I have 8 of them in my garage. I use them for everything. I use them for kind of like a small toolbox. I use them to throw weeds in when I'm weeding. I use them to water. They're great to have. I've probably got 20 of these in my garage. I don't have 20 now. I have 8 because I just moved and I left a lot of them outside in the sun, and they degraded and started to crumble and stuff, so they got trashed. The orange Home Depot buckets are made from Hdpe number 2 resin, which we know is safe. It's the same thing used to make the blue barrels. It's the best plastic for long-term food storage, but they are not food safe. Quote unquote, they are not food safe. The orange dye and the solvents used in manufacturing are toxic and should not come in contact with food or drink. Okay, so that said, what if you're using a Mylar bag in an orange Home Depot bucket? I can't say yes or no. Could you do it? Would I do it? I don't know. It depends on what the price of the white food grade buckets are. Do I want white rice in a Mylar bag inside of a bucket that's not food grade for 30 years? I don't know. Honestly, I can't answer that question. You're going to have to make up your mind on that one. The Home Depot does sell white food grade buckets. Food grade buckets tend to be white. I had a neighbor that made cakes and had a confectionery shop, and he always had a ton of food grade buckets. Like, he couldn't get rid of them. He had so many of them. You could use the orange buckets for dry food storage if you line them with seal Mylar bags. I should probably change that. I don't know that. There's a possibility that I would use them for that, for my personal use, but I'm not going to suggest that you do that. Again, make up your own mind. Don't put potable water or alcohol in the orange buckets unless you want to drink the chemicals. The same goes for dried foods without a liner. You're like, what? What are you talking about here? Well, I make mead. Occasionally, I will make a batch of beer. And buckets are a big part of the brewing mead making process. So, it's up to you what you're going to do. Yeah, they're cheaper. That's why people use them. So here's some useful links here. Which plastics are safe for food storage? Plastic resin identification codes. That's another link. National Geographic Strange Days on the Planet Smart Plastics Guide. That's actually a pretty interesting article. Just go check it out. Plasticrecycling.org. Plastic resin identification codes. That's a printable PDF. And that's it. This is a quick, short, wham, bam article. I hope this is helpful. Let me know if you have any suggestions. Let me know if I missed anything. This is a pretty complicated subject, and I hope I did it justice. Thanks, guys. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.